Ready, set, go!
Registration is now open for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2023 Annual Conference. It's in Philadelphia, December 4th through 6th, 2023, setting the standard transformation through accreditation. You don't want to miss it. Register now at msche.org.
Surprise!
We're taking the EdUp Experience podcast to Insights EDU. Join us for an incredible higher education marketing and enrollment management conference, February 20th to 22nd in Phoenix, Arizona. Register now at insightsedu.com and use promo code EdUp to save $50 off your registration. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. If you've been listening, you know that we have finally reached our 700th episode that we've been able to release. By the way, if you don't know, we're like 2 weeks. We have like 2 weeks of episodes in our cache, so we're really like 715. But you won't see those episodes come out until a little bit later. Of course, if you do follow the podcast and if you listen, you know that we've last year, almost a year ago, we released a book called Commencement: The Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education that was able to take our first 125 presidents that we interviewed on this podcast, who told us all about what the future holds for higher ed, and we put it all in a book for you, because we value you and we appreciate you listening to this podcast. And we, as I said previously in a previous episode, we have passed 325,000 listens of our podcast episodes, and almost 20% of our audience is global. If you've been watching the news today, you will have seen that there is, now I say today, but this is going to be about 2 weeks from the time you listen. So we're going to, that's the beauty of podcasting. But today, going back 2 weeks, there is a lot going in higher ed. Of course, as you know, the public trust is becoming a big question. We're talking about the 3-year bachelor's degree. We're talking about innovative universities serving their constituencies and growing rapidly and getting institutional changing gifts and support from all across the country. And we brought you somebody to the microphone today that is going to tell us all about what's going on at his university and the game-changing things happening there. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say they fit him into the EdUp Experience fast, I mean they got him in. Like, we heard from them yesterday, and we got him on the microphone today. So that's what I'm talking about. Love somebody who's motivated. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He is Dr. Rick Gallot, and he is the president at Grambling State University. Dr. Gallot, how are you?
Yo, good morning. And look, thank you so much for having me on, and good morning to all of your listeners. I guess 2 weeks from today, when you're watching and listening, I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody.
I love it, right? And I was looking at your website, and I love when we can repeat culturally the way that we operate. I love that you said that right away. That's a big thing. But level set for us. First of all, Grambling State has a great reputation, and there's a lot of people that know Grambling State University. But if somebody was listening today and didn't know Grambling State, introduce us to the university.
Sure. So, and again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Grambling State University is located in the city of Grambling, Louisiana, which is in the north central part of the state of Louisiana. For those who may not be intimately familiar, we're about a half an hour west of Monroe, Louisiana, which is the birthplace of Delta Airlines. And we're about an hour east of Shreveport, Bossier, Louisiana. A lot of people are familiar with Shreveport. So we're sort of nestled right there in between. We were founded in 1901 when a group of Black farmers wrote a letter to Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee Institute asking him to send someone to start a school. And of course, 1901, there were very limited opportunities for African Americans to get a higher education, and certainly there were no opportunities in that part of the state. So he sent a gentleman, a 6'9", 300-pound gentleman named Charles Phillip Adams, to start Grambling. And 121 years later, we are a thriving, historically Black college university that is not only known for Eddie Robinson and being the winningest coach in college football history, and having 4 NFL Hall of Famers, also having an NBA Hall of Famer, Willis Reed. But we're also Louisiana's first and only university to offer a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity and in cloud computing. We've been graduating computer science graduates since 1972. Amazing nursing program, really just a very vibrant university community that we're so incredibly proud of, and have an opportunity to work with young people every day in moving our people forward. I'll pause right there and see if that was enough to level set.
Amazing.
I think it was. I'll tell you, as I remember as a kid growing up watching college football, and always at the start of the season seeing Grambling State or in some kind of championship game. And you've got a really storied athletics program, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, I grew up in Grambling. So I'm born and reared in Grambling, attended nursery school through college on the campus. So, for me, seeing legends like Eddie Robinson, who, he was the football coach who lived across the street from my childhood friend Kenny Patton. So, to see Coach Rob coming in the evenings with his briefcase, we never looked at him as this big celebrity and winning coach. He was Coach Rob. He was the football coach, at Grambling. So I didn't fully appreciate the how special Grambling was until I, quite frankly, was an adult to understand the special place that we have in history. And I thought that every community had the provost, the vice president of academic affairs across the street, and the business dean 2 doors down, and the speech and theater department head on the other end of Richmond Drive. I thought everybody had Black PhDs throughout their community. Again, it was only when I became an adult that I appreciated that having Willis Reed being my dad's close friend. My dad cut Willis's hair when he was a
Wow.
student at Grambling, and they maintained a friendship through. Both of them passed away earlier this year, but remained friends throughout their lives. And Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, and just so many people that I've just known my entire life.
Before we get to what I think we want to really talk about, which is the Willis Reed and great event that's taking place at Grambling State, I want to talk about you just a little bit, because if I look at your background, you're in the political realm. You've got your Juris Doctorate. And then you trip and fall into a presidency in higher ed. It's kind of, the one thing I could tell you about all the people that I've ever interviewed in higher education, there's been many, nobody wakes up after college and goes, I'm going to become a president of a higher education institution, right? It's very rare that somebody has that path. It's more like it kind of happened, or, through the political realm and advocating for educational programs, somebody goes, you know what, I'm going to go run a university or be a superintendent now. How did it happen for you that you end up in higher ed?
Sure, and I don't mind telling you that when I graduated from Grambling in the summer of 1987, as I was preparing to go to Southern University, our arch rival, to go to Southern for law school, I made myself 3 promises. Number one, I'll never live in Grambling, I'll never work in Grambling, and I'll never go into politics.
This
And
is
I
lunacy.
did all three. I did all three. My dad was mayor in Grambling when I was a teenager, and so I never had any interest in doing any of that. And as a kid growing up in that community, I believe that that God had plans for me to be in New York on Wall Street,
Because you grew up
doing
there and you just got to go, right? You just got to
right.
leave where you came from.
Right. And that's why, now one of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs 19:21. Many of the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. And so, as I, am in my into my 8th year now as president, and I can talk from personal, knowledge and experience about the history of the university. My mother's dissertation was the history of Grambling, and she published it into a book. So, I mean, these are things that I haven't just had to read about. I mean, these are things, lived experiences, and it's just a part of who I am. So, again, God was preparing me for this, but I didn't know that He was. So, when the system president reached out to me and said, "Hey Rick, I'd like to have a conversation with you about Grambling." I said, "Oh, sure. We'll have a cup of coffee one day and talk about it." And he said, "Well, I can be in your office in 10 minutes." And the conversation went something like, "It's your generation's time to be the leadership this university needs." And I was the fourth president in 4 years. There'd been a lot of instability at the university, and so again now. That I'm, I guess, the fourth longest serving president in school history. It's an amazing place, and I'm just again grateful that God saw fit for me to be able to serve in this role.
So 4 presidents in 4 years before you come on board. You're at
Yes,
eight. You're eight. What's the
yes.
what's kept you? I don't know. Why have you been the force of being solid, and what's kept you? Because the average years for a college president is reduced from 7 or 8 to 5. And it's
Yeah,
going down to it's kind of trending down to 3. And I've heard many of the presidents that I have on the podcast say it's that third year that becomes the make or break, where you've got
sure.
2 years to kind of figure things out, and that third year you've got to do something. And a lot of them, a lot of presidents have moved on, or getting plucked out now, because I think it's hard to find good leaders in higher ed. What's been your secret to success?
Well, it's not really a secret. It all comes from probably the most published book in history of the world, and that is the Bible. And that my faith plays an amazing role in who I am as a person and the decisions that I make. So when I read scripture that says do all things decently and in order, then those things carry over into what I'm doing at the university, and I know that for me to put God first, keep our students at the forefront of decisions that we make, having students at the table when we make decisions, knowing that there are a lot of people counting on us getting it right, and although it is sometimes very difficult to make the tough decisions, they have to be made, and so it these are all things that I think emanate from my faith and knowing that this is something that God has for me to do. And I know that's not very philosophical. That's not very academic to say that, and perhaps not all presidents would approach the work from that standpoint or see it through those lens. But for me, that is really what drives my decisions. And I believe, God has blessed our university with a lot of amazing things in this last 7 years. I mean, when Beyonce wanted a band to come and perform for her in Coachella, California, there were 4,000 colleges she could have called. They called Grambling, and so it was the world famed Tiger Marching Band that went and performed for her
Oh yeah.
in Coachella, right? And when you think about having people like Doug Williams, the first black uh, uh, quarterback to start in a Super Bowl and become MVP. These are all amazing things that are part of our history, and more people are taking note of us as an institution. And again, nobody but God could make that happen.
I really like what you say, because I think, you know, um, you said it's not very academic, and then it may not be the way others operate. But I think for longevity, you have to have something to hold on to, whether it's it's something outside, or it's a mentor, or it's faith, or if it's something to give you that longevity through what is not an easy job as a college president. First of all, you got a lot of eyes on you, and by a lot I mean like students, and then their parents, and then the
Mhm.
community, politicians. I mean, everybody has a reason to pay attention, and as an HBCU in this country, which I think the sector of education, the HBCUs in this country that have started to see a little bit of a resurgence now, is an important a value proposition for Black students in the United States. Can you talk quickly
Absolutely.
about, as we transition into talking about Willis Reed and everything that's gone on or will happen today for you, talk about HBCUs, the value proposition for Black students in the United States, why this is an important sector of education to pay attention to.
Sure, and the mission is the same today as it was in 1901 or in the 60s when Willis Reed left Bernice, Louisiana, and came down to Grambling to start college. It is a gateway. It's a pathway to an amazing future. And for Willis, it was into the MBA. How unlikely that someone would have very humble beginning in Bernice, Louisiana, and end up being the captain, the one that is a household name in New York City, right?
Nailed
Uh,
it.
we we get exactly. So we are still the place not only where everybody is somebody, but where you can start at Grambling and go anywhere. And we've always been doing this work, whether we were in vogue or not. Even before George Floyd, HBCUs were doing this work, but we certainly appreciate the added attention that I think we've all seen over these last few years, even through the pandemic and everything that we've been through in these last few years. It has just given us an opportunity to let the world know what we all have known all along, and that is you can go anywhere, starting right at Grambling or at other HBCUs as well.
So Willis Reed, New York Knicks, I think he won 2 championships. I
There
think
are
two
only two,
championships,
yes,
2 or 3.
yes, two.
We're talking about one of the most well-known New York Knicks players in history. What's going on at the university that's related to Willis Reed? And of course, he just passed, I think, in March. What's going on?
So, well, and I'm so thankful we were able to, a year ago before his passing, to rename the floor at our basketball arena the Willis Reed Court, and then also the Willis Reed Tunnel, which all of our players, the male and female basketball players, come through going out to the court before each game. And then, since his passing, we are now endeavoring to establish a $1 million endowment in the name of Willis Reed at Grambling State University. And so today will be the tip off. You always hear the kickoff. Today is the tip off of the Willis Reed endowment effort. And so we're really excited about the event today. His Willis's former teammate and former U.S. Senator Bill Bradley will be there. Miss Gail Reed, Willis's widow, will be there, and a number of other representatives from the Knicks organization and others who knew him and loved him and revered him, not just as the captain who led them to 2 championships, but to someone who everyone recognized as a really down to earth and decent human being who, again, he didn't have an evil bone in his body. He was someone that everybody could really, love, admire, and respect. So we will tip that off later today here in New York.
Victory!
I have a feeling that you'll collect all of those dollars in endowment. What do you do with those dollars? Do you chop it up into different scholarships for Black students coming in? Is it for retention? Is it students experiencing hardship? Maybe a little bit of both?
Those will be directed to scholarships. That is what the entire Willis Reed endowment will be directed for direct student assistance in scholarships. And of course, when you think about even today in 2023, we still have a number of first generation college students. You think, colleges have been around for a really long time. I mean, Harvard started in the 1600s, right? We've been around for over 120 years. But to think there are still a substantial number of students who are first generation, the first one in their families to go to college. And so being able to assist financially in realizing the dreams of young people is what is so incredibly important. Again, first generation, lower income. We have over 90% of our students qualify for some form of student financial aid. I think that speaks to the need that so many of our students have, but it also helps to keep us laser focused on the population of students that we still have to be intentional about reaching out to, meeting them where they are, and helping to take them where they have the God-given ability to go.
Should you register for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education annual conference this December 4th through 6th in Philadelphia?
100%.
I agree, because the title of the conference is called Setting the Standard, Transformation Through Accreditation. There is no time like the present to explore opportunities in higher education and the future for our students and our business model. Get out and network with your peers this December 4th through 6th at the Middle States Commission on Higher Education annual conference.
Attention.
Are you ready to elevate your institution's marketing and enrollment strategies? Join the EdUp Experience podcast at the Insights EDU conference, February 20th to 22nd in Phoenix, Arizona. Don't miss out on this opportunity to hear from engaging speakers from industry-leading companies like Google, LinkedIn, Adobe, and higher ed leaders. Learn the latest marketing and enrollment strategies to grow your programs. Register now at insightsedu.com and use promo code EdUp to save $50 off your registration.
Attention.
How are our students doing? You know, this is an important initiative whenever you can create a scholarship fund. Hopefully it's a self-sustaining scholarship fund. You hope to get it to the point where it's growing itself every year and you're able to dish out a certain amount of scholarships to help students. The students are coming in, and I'm noticing, because I've been working in higher ed for almost 25 years. You know, this is almost the first year where I am really noticing. I think there were mental health concerns before. Post-COVID, they're really happening, but they're manifesting themselves in very unique ways, immediate ways, where, you know, I think not that there's, I don't know, I have to put it into words, but there was a general awareness of mental health before, and so you put all these services in place, and now the kids are really using the services and demanding those services, and they're almost at, you know, where some kind of mental health service would be something that would come, you know, 2 or 3 steps down the road. Now there's an immediate use of it. How are kids coming to you? Are they lost? Is there COVID learning loss? Are they prepared? Are you having to put more investment into getting them ready? And how does this scholarship tie into that?
So I would say all of the above.
Yeah.
I think that mental health has always been a need area. And again, if you think about combining, not that all students are first generation, because you know clearly we have legacy students, we have
Yep.
those who are third and fourth generation Grambling students, right? But recognizing that still having a great number of first generation, all of our students, for the most part, now have experienced virtual learning, whether it was as a college student or a high school student
Yeah.
during the pandemic. There are anxieties that come along with that isolation that I think we're still coming to grips with. I think it's evolving. You know, the more we do, the more we learn about the unique needs. I think what is truly different now is that students are being more open
Yeah.
with their mental health challenges, which is a good thing because, you know, I think the first step is always admitting that you need the help so we can provide it for you. So I think that is really the true difference now is that students do, and I'm glad they feel more comfortable and empowered to ask for help. And we now have the opportunity to provide and again meet them where they are with the needs that they have. So, you know, we have 24/7 access to mental health professionals. So whether it's our counselors who are on staff or there on campus, but we also have access to online services around the clock. So, again, we have recognized, and I think, most schools have recognized that this is a need area, and we're certainly meeting the need of our students. And as this continues to evolve and change, which it always does, we will continue to monitor, collect the data, and make sure that we're staying on top of not only current, but what future needs might look like as well.
I like your style, dude.
I want to ask you about, well, one thing, what you said that resonates with me is students, if they're more upfront about mental health, at least you have a chance to save them. When maybe before there were the same mental health concerns, but it was taboo to bring them up. And so the student would disappear on you without you ever knowing, maybe leave the university. And so you never had a chance to save them. So I think that's a really good point that you make. But I want to transition to have a scholarship fund like the Willis Reed Scholarship Fund is you tip it off, and I'm sure you have an opportunity to bring in some great exposure, and hopefully those turn into funds for the scholarship, and it becomes self-sustaining. Is now you have the opportunity to help students, maybe first-generation students, if this goes the way I think you hope it will go, coming into Grambling State. The conversation, and I ask every president this because it's something that we have to figure out, is the value conversation. Higher ed doesn't have as much value as it used to. You really don't need that for your degree anymore. You should really look at this alternative. Maybe you should go get a certification in Google and just go to work for the next 10 years. And, there's a danger in that because although there are some technology companies in states that are reducing degree requirements, by and large, most people understand degrees, and they use a degree as a way to mitigate risk. If you're going to employ somebody and they've gotten a degree and they have certain skills, you can rationalize whether they have those skills or not, but it does reduce risk for an employer. Now, if we've got a bunch of people that aren't seeing that value of higher education, and their earnings aren't coming as rapidly aren't going to equal what they would equal with a degree over time, it affects this generational wealth issue that we have, this inequity. What's your thoughts? I mean, I'm kind of soapboxing a little bit because I hear the danger in it, but what are your thoughts on that whole college degree?
Right. And as we look at the World Economic Forum and their jobs outlook, McKinsey and Company, and the future of work, when you look at what is projected to be jobs that exist in the future that don't exist today, and those that exist today that will not exist in the future, then it helps to focus on the value proposition, right?
Yep.
And so if we're looking at what jobs will be available in 2030 and 2040, and our programs are evolving to develop that talent and that workforce, then absolutely the degree is essential. Yeah, and one of the other ways that you can look at it is that yes, you can get a Google certification or Cisco or an IBM certification. Those are all great, but they are typically referred to in the context of stackable, that you put
Nailed
those
it.
on top of rather than instead of, right? And so I think these are the things that we have to continue to educate our students and educate others to understand the value of the degree. The other thing is that you learn about life as a college student. When you come as a freshman and you're living on campus, you begin to understand time management. Am I waking up early enough to be able to get to that across campus class? What's the penalty if I fail to, walk across the campus? Or in the case of an online class, am I getting up early enough to be able to, wash my face and look presentable because my camera has to be on, right?
Yikes.
So there are all these things that go beyond just the subject matter. It is about life. It is about preparation to be thinking about how I will operate in this ecosystem that I find myself in, whether it is the university setting or whether it is the corporate setting. So, how to get along with people. You and at Grambling, for instance, we've got students from 37 states 27 foreign countries, chances are your roommate is not going to be someone that you went to high school with. So how do
Surprise.
how do you get to know strangers? How do you develop bonds and relationships? Before coming on this podcast, I had an opportunity to visit some of our alums who were in town for our football game this weekend. Whipped up breakfast real quick, and we were able to eat and talk and do all of these are lifelong relationships that were built that started on the campus of Grambling State University in the 80s. And so those are all things that you can't put a price tag or a value on that. It is priceless. And so I would encourage anyone, and you also have to be mindful of who's saying you don't need a degree, right? Is it someone
Yes.
who doesn't, have a degree, or is there some reason why their degree may not be valuable? Okay. That certainly does not mean that another degree from another institution at a different time might not be valuable. So I would say take all of those things into consideration. And look, one of the things we've done with our freshman students, we integrated the 7 habits of highly effective college students in the curriculum. And one of those, 7 habits: seek first to understand, then to be understood, right? And so, I would say that we should try to understand where they're coming from. Why do you believe there's no value in this degree? And let's talk about that so I can understand where you're coming from, and perhaps you will take time to understand where I'm coming from too.
Tell them like it is.
I love it, and I love that we have leaders in higher education that are forward thinking that way. We have AI that is going to disrupt things, but it's not going to disrupt things. We still have an education imperative, right? We see in our society what happens when we aren't nice to each other, and that we can't understand perspectives, and that's an important part of what higher education does. As you move Grambling State forward, and you look at the future goals of the university, what do those look like? You've been there 8 years. I'm sure you've gone through a strategic plan, or you're going to redo your strategic plan. So much has happened in the last 18 months in terms of technology, AI, and so on. Do you adjust the strategic plan? Do you look at different things going forward? How do you think about the future of higher education?
Sure, and I think that the main thing about strategic planning is that number one, we're all required to have one, right? But I think there are some metrics within a strategic plan that never change. That is, we want to increase, our enrollment.
Sure.
We want better outcomes. We want higher retention rates. We want higher graduation rates. What's our employment rate after graduation? These are all things that will always be a part of a strategic plan at a university, right? But where the real planning comes in is sometimes just being nimble enough to shift and adjust. And again, for me, the investments that we made in our IT infrastructure before the pandemic paid dividends because we were able to very easily pivot and start delivering online instruction, whereas a lot of universities were not a lot. There were some universities that were not prepared to pivot, and they're still suffering because they were not able to very easily do it. Our technology was in place to do that very easily, and having the right personnel and people in place to do it. So part of it is never getting comfortable with our successes of yesterday. And again, knowing that technology will continue to be a driver in not just higher ed, but in the world in general, then we can't be afraid to adopt AI. We have to understand how to articulate to our students the ethical use of AI, as opposed to trying to find ways to ban them or punish them they're going to use it. I think if we're practical, we understand that they will use it, and the students and graduates that they will be competing against for jobs are using it as well. So how can we prepare our students to ethically use AI in such a way that they're not left at a competitive disadvantage by not doing it. So it is always an evolving set of criteria that we're having to look at in making decisions, but ultimately investing in ourselves, investing in our capacity to be able to shift and pivot when we need to, I think are all things that go well beyond the four corners of a strategic plan.
I got to ask you, did you just make this up on the fly, or is this coming from somewhere when you said, don't get comfortable with the successes of yesterday? I love that.
That's life. That is that is life. Whether I'm speaking to our honor students, whether I'm speaking to my 10 and 11-year-old sons at home, right? It is all the same
So true.
principle that just transcends time and place, that you can never be complacent or comfortable with yesterday's successes, because
I
things
love
change.
that.
Yes.
What a good way to say it. What else do you want to say, Rick, about the great work at Grambling? Anything going on? Talk to us about the event that's going to take place again today, but anything else that you want to say about the university. I love to leave everybody with an open mic to say whatever you want about your institution.
Sure, and of course, the initial reason for being here in the New York, New Jersey area is that we will play a football game tomorrow against Hampton University, and
Victory!
I'm sure we'll have victory.
absolutely. We came here for a win. But typically what we try to do is to build events around when we're playing in, certainly if you're in New York, New Jersey, trying to build not only recruiting opportunities, but fundraising opportunities and friend raising opportunities as well. And it also gives us an opportunity to energize our alumni base, many of whom have come out and are involved in activities over this weekend, to really get them, connected back to the university in a very meaningful way. So we will play Hampton. And just kind of a side note on that, we were founded from Tuskegee. Tuskegee was founded from Hampton. So there is a tie-in to that relationship. And President Williams from Hampton will. I've invited him to be the speaker for our Founders Day that'll happen in November. So although we will compete on the field, and we compete with other schools all the time, but we are a community, an HBC community, where we are here to support one another as well. And so that is something that is really exciting, that I appreciate the opportunity to be able to connect with other HBCUs, not only on the football field and competing, but also in programming. This year we will celebrate the 50th installment of the Bayou Classic, which is our annual game against Southern University in New Orleans, the Saturday following Thanksgiving.
Do you
So
want to make a prediction on the outcome of that game here?
That the Superdome will be a sellout this year. That we will
well done.
Completely sell out the
100%.
The Caesar Superdome. And look, here's the thing: purchasing a ticket to attend the Battle of the Bands, or the Bayou Classic football game is an investment in our students, because that helps bring dollars back to Grambling and to Southern. And so I want to encourage everyone to participate. Of course, we are on NBC. And so we have a worldwide audience. You can watch from anywhere, but there's nothing like being there. So certainly want to mention that. But all that we're doing again at Grambling in cybersecurity and in cloud computing, and in our technology areas, in our nursing program. Our graduates last year, 100% of our nursing graduates passed the NCLEX, the nursing test that they're required to take. That program is doing.
How many passed?
100%.
100%.
I only did that just because I had it ready for you.
Yes. So, again, just, there's so many great things that are going on right now, programs that are growing and thriving. And we're excited about the future of HBCUs. We're very excited on the future of Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody.
I can tell you from at least from the EdUp experience, myself and co-founder Elvin Freitas, we hope you raise every single dollar of that $1 million on behalf of or in memory of Willis Reed and his trailblazing work and success as an athlete with the New York Knicks and beyond. We wish you much success. And Grambling State is a great institution with a national recognition, and we appreciate you making time in your busy schedule in New York, New Jersey right now. Of course, you're not at Grambling State to slide in and come on the EdUp experience. I can't tell you how appreciative we are that you would take the time for us.
Absolutely. And look, for all of your viewers and fans, go to gram.edu/giving. So that's gram.edu/giving. And if you would like to invest in Grambling State University, whether it's the Willis Reed Endowment or any other part, you have a drop-down menu. You could invest in our world famed Tiger Marching Band or our History Club or whatever you may be interested in. Our GAP Fund, which is another one of our scholarship funds for students who have a gap between the amount of aid they have and the amount they need to complete registration. There are a lot of ways to get involved and make a difference in the life of a student. So, but again, we certainly want to encourage everyone to be a part of something great at Grambling.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is my guest today. No, he is your guest today. He's Dr. Rick Gallot. He's president of Grambling State University. Rick, what an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. You have a good time today?
Had a great time. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.
Oh, yeah.
The Middle States Commission on Higher Education 2023 annual conference is in Philadelphia, December 4th through 6th. Setting the standard, transformation through accreditation. Remember, only you can create transformation through networking, knowledge sharing, opportunity, leadership, service, learning, and accreditation. And you'll do all those things at the Middle States Commission on Higher Education annual conference this December 4th through 6th. Can't wait to be there. EdUp will be there. There's going to be over 1,300 attendees, presidents, provosts. The networking opportunities are off the chain. Register now at msche.org.
Oh, yeah.
Attention higher ed marketing and enrollment management professionals. We are taking the EdUp Experience podcast to Insights EDU. Join us at Insights EDU on February 20th to 22nd, 2024 in Phoenix, Arizona. Gain insight into the latest higher education trends and cutting-edge marketing strategies that'll take your institution's enrollment to a whole new level. This is your opportunity to connect with higher education leaders and marketing experts from across the country. Comprehensive presentations, engaging panel discussions, and more. Insights EDU will equip you to position your institution for growth. Register now at insightsedu.com and use the code EdUp to save $50 off your registration. Can you afford to miss this conference?
I don't think so.